A woman knocked on my door holding a toddler and said, "I'm sorry to bother you, but your husband is supposed to pick up his son today." I stared at the blonde woman on my porch, her words not making sense in my brain. "I think you have the wrong house," I said, starting to close the door. The toddler in her arms had my husband's eyes, that exact shade of green with the amber flecks that I'd fallen in love with 9 years ago. "This is 2847 Maple Street, right?" she asked, shifting the boy on her hip. "Derek Quinn lives here?" My hand froze on the doorknob because that was my husband's name and this was definitely our address. The boy was maybe 2 years old with Derek's nose and chin, and he was reaching for a toy truck that hung from the woman's purse. "Who are you?" I asked, my voice coming out strangled. She looked confused and a little annoyed. "I'm Vanessa. Derek's been picking up Theo every Thursday for the past 6 months." She pulled out her phone with her free hand. "He literally texted me an hour ago saying he'd be here by noon." My legs felt weak because it was Thursday, and Derek had told me this morning he had a client meeting downtown that would run until 3. I looked at the time on my phone and it was 12:15. "There must be some mistake," I said. But I was looking at this child who had Derek's cowlick in the exact same spot on the left side of his head. Vanessa's expression shifted from annoyed to worried. "Wait, are you his sister or something?" He said his wife knew about Theo. The world tilted sideways and I had to grab the doorframe to stay standing. "Wife," she said, "wife," which meant she knew he was married. "I'm his wife," I said, and watched her face go completely white. The toddler started crying and reaching toward me like he wanted me to hold him, and that made everything so much worse. Vanessa took a step back, nearly tripping over our welcome mat. "Oh my god, you didn't know." It wasn't a question. She fumbled with her phone, scrolling through messages, and turned the screen toward me. There were dozens of texts from Derek's number talking about pickup times, and whether Theo needed his allergy medicine and reminders about the park playdate next week. The most recent one from an hour ago said, "Running 5 minutes late, be there by 12:15. I screenshot the messages with my own phone before I even realized what I was doing, my hands shaking so badly I almost dropped it. "How long?" I asked, my voice not sounding like mine. Vanessa looked like she might throw up. "We met 3 years ago. He said he was divorced." She kept talking, but I couldn't hear the words over the ringing in my ears, because 3 years ago I was pregnant with our daughter Iris, and going through horrible morning sickness while Derek supposedly worked late every night to pay for the nursery we were building. I pulled out my phone and called Derek, putting it on speaker so Vanessa could hear. It rang 4 times before he answered with his work voice. "Hey babe, I'm in a meeting. Can I call you back?" The lie was so smooth and practiced that it made my stomach turn. "Your son is here," I said, watching Vanessa's face. There was complete silence on the other end for maybe 10 seconds. "What are you talking about?" Derek asked, but his voice had changed to something I'd never heard before. "Vanessa is on my porch with your son Theo, and apparently you've been picking him up every Thursday for 6 months." I watched Vanessa's eyes fill with tears while Theo kept trying to grab my necklace. More silence. Then Derek said, "I can explain." And I laughed because what explanation could possibly make this okay? "You have 10 minutes to get home or I'm calling the police," I said and hung up. Vanessa was crying now, ugly sobs that made Theo cry harder. "He said you were divorced." He showed me papers. I invited her inside because whatever was about to happen, the neighbors didn't need to see it. She sat on my couch, the same couch Derek and I had picked out together 4 years ago, and I noticed Theo was wearing a shirt with trucks on it that I'd seen in Derek's car last week. I'd asked him about it and he said his sister's kid had left it there. I didn't even know he had a sister because Derek was an only child. "When did you meet?" I asked, sitting across from her in the chair where I nursed Iris every night. Vanessa wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. "At a coffee shop downtown. He said he was a consultant who traveled a lot for work." That part was true. Derek did travel frequently, or so I thought. "How often did he see Theo?" She looked at the floor. "Every Thursday afternoon, and sometimes on weekends when he said he had business trips." My phone buzzed with a text from Derek. "Please don't do this. We need to talk in private." I showed it to Vanessa and she started crying harder. I opened our family photos on my phone and showed her the pictures from our wedding 7 years ago, from Iris's birth 2 years ago, from our vacation to the beach last summer where Derek had his arm around me while we watched the sunset. She covered her mouth with her hand. He showed me divorce papers. They had a case number and everything. I walked to Derek's home office and found his filing cabinet unlocked because why would he lock it when I wasn't supposed to know about any of this? The folder labeled legal had copies of fake divorce papers that looked incredibly official with a case number that I checked on my phone and didn't exist in any court system. He'd had them made professionally. The level of planning that took made me feel sick. I heard a car door slam and Derek was suddenly in our living room, stopping dead when he saw Vanessa and Theo on our couch. That's when things got out of control. Full story is linked below or on my channel.